left and right, Democrat and Republican, blue pill and red pill. What is the actual meaning of this binary, this division, which is so characteristic of the current political climate here in America? It even extends beyond politics. What it means to be a man or a woman, or even a human being in general, and what it means to have family values seems to have been radically altered and disrupted by this division, with one side declaring that everything we've ever known about these things can be completely thrown out the window, and we completely refashion everything about us as human beings according to these enlightened precepts. Gender is completely made up, and as a matter of fact, not only can we choose whatever gender we want to have, we can even make up new ones. Additionally, everything we've ever known about the relation between the sexes is completely prejudiced and based on patriarchy. And actually, there is no difference between men and women. And men need to become more feminine and they need to get more into their feelings. And women need to be more assertive and independent. Oh, and by the way, everything you've ever felt about your own country and its history are based in lies. And the only feeling you're allowed to have about them is guilt. Oh, and did I mention that actually the British Empire was progressive and the founding fathers were wrong for declaring independence from it? Wanting to defend your rights and freedoms as Americans actually means you're a racist. And by the way, that sense of dignity you feel in the face of overwhelming tyranny and the elite agenda, that's actually toxic masculinity. If only you were more feminine and obedient, we could proceed along with our plan far more smoothly. I think you guys can see where this is going. All the things that make us as a population capable of resisting the globalist elite's agenda for overwhelming and sweeping change needs to be condemned and needs to be opposed. And all the things that make us more obedient and willing slaves of the globalist elites need to be promoted and need to be valorized. How many male celebrities have you seen come out and just wear dresses in public to the grand applause of the artificial audience and artificial social media the globalist elites have engineered? So brave, inspiring future generations of young men to adopt all the qualities and characteristics that make them less likely to take up arms and rise up against what is inevitably going to be an openly fascist dictatorship that's going to enforce, at the point of a gun, the globalist agenda, the degrowth agenda, the green agenda. You don't want the future generation of men to be like those pesky Canadian truckers and those Dutch farmers. No, that's toxic masculinity. That's a remnant of the past. The future will certainly be woke. Won't it? Actually, doesn't seem like it. For some miraculous reason, and despite overwhelming odds to completely brainwash the future generation of men to basically be cuckolds and soy boys and pussies, men have found role models and inspiration in people like Andrew Tate and before then Jordan Peterson. And while I have my disagreements with those people, and I also, for the record, have disagreements with their approach, what they all share in common is that they're promoting a message of masculinity. They're also promoting a message of motivation. Whereas society around them is telling us that we need to be doing less, we need to grow less for the sake of the planet, we need to dial it down a notch. People like Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson are telling young men that they should build themselves. Now, whether they succeed in doing so is another question, but it's very clear that the future generation of men in this country have somehow developed an immune response to the woke virus. So it comes as no surprise that Andrew Tate has been deplatformed recently by big tech from almost every major platform. Such is the inevitable fate of anyone who dares to stray from the woke agenda. The problem is that it's not going to deter the youth. For whatever reason, they have some kind of instinct, whether it's from God or whether it's from nature or whether it's a social construct. There's something deeply embedded in their unconscious, which is wanting for some kind of way to make sense of their reality. Still, in spite of that resistance, society remains more divided than ever. you have one camp that is calling all of the people who are trying to resist the woke agenda, including this new generation of young men, fascists and reactionaries and incels. And on the other hand, you have a generation of young men that are searching for some kind of way out of what I guess Andrew Tate calls the matrix. One camp that readily accepts at face value everything the government, the corporations, and the mainstream media is telling us, and another camp which is only unified on the basis of being skeptical. And there you have the modern left-right division in today's America. People who are right-wing are all of the people who are skeptical of this overwhelming agenda, and people who are left-wing are the people who are fully submitted to it. I mean, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Considering that, historically speaking, the left was always associated with the revolutionaries, the people who questioned the status quo, the people who even dedicated their lives to overthrowing it. The right wing was associated, with the powdered wig, aristocratic elites who did everything in their power to preserve their rule. Today's America, the Democrats and the leftists are associated with communism. But that's actually not true, because communists, love them or hate them, were people who led popular working class movements that oftentimes led revolutions against the status quo and against the minority of elitists. The countries with the largest and most prominent communist parties actually align communism with conservative values, at least in the American sense. It's the communists in Russia who are opposing the LGBT movement and promoting traditional masculine values, and the same can be said of the Communist Party in China and the ruling party even in a country like North Korea. So for whatever reason, in many ways at least, the left and right in America has switched. Now, if you think about it, this is an arrangement which serves the globalist elites quite well. In this way, working class people in America will continue to elect into office rhino establishment Republicans that pay lip service to conservative and working class cultural values, while in terms of policy, in terms of the actual bills they're signing and they're passing, serve the ruling class's agenda, whether it's in the form of supporting war or U.S. interventionism, giving money to Ukraine to loot our own coffers, or whether it's in the form of upholding socialism for the rich we have in place for Wall Street and prostituting our country to the global financial elites. This same Republican Party, alongside the Democratic Party, has destroyed our manufacturing and industrial base. They've completely depleted our ability to not only build wealth as a country, but even to just reproduce ourselves. It doesn't make sense that they would support family values while at the same time destroying the very means by which we could actually make families and have families, other than to actually deceive the working class. And now we have this great reset agenda, which wants to put the final nail in the coffin as far as the American working class's power is concerned, by engaging in an almost outright policy of population reduction, and B, destroying our constitutional liberties and replacing our republic with some kind of open dictatorship. But the reason I'm making this video is because I want to make clear that in many ways, a false opposition can be even more detrimental than an open ruling class agenda. The reason is since, if the very means by which we resist this agenda is monopolized by the same ruling class carrying it out, then it almost seems like we have no options left. All roads point to the same direction and to the same ends. While a lot of the self-help gurus and motivational influencers who are helping the youth find their way get a lot of things right, what's crucially missing in them is a way to unify and connect us, not only treating us as just individuals and not only treating our problems as just individual problems, but recognizing that at some kind of collective level, we as Americans are facing a crisis. And we can only respond to this crisis in an equally collective way. As individuals, any single one of us that steps out of line is just going to share the same fate Andrew Tate did. They're just going to ban us, or they're going to throw us in prison, or they're going to, God forbid, kill us. The only way we can challenge the ruling class and the globalist elites is if we come together as a unified working class. Instead of counting on these fake conservative establishment Republicans to defend our liberties every election cycle, we need to come together and start thinking about how we devise our own independent party of the American working class. The era of just having motivational influencers is coming to an end. We need to actually concentrate our power into a form of political power, because at the end of the day, the only reason these big tech corporations are able to censor us in the first place is because they have the backing of the government. A government that's supposed to be by, for, and of the people. And if we put our collective strength together and unify as a people, that government may yet again actually be a government by, for, and of the people.